Deemed, rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
All right, welcome to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. This is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. We've got a lot that I want to cover today, but I do want to start with the mass murderer or the mass shooter that murdered three. Three died, unfortunately, and 5 others are wounded as a result of this Michigan state shooter that happened to be black. Thus far, I don't hear any calls on, banning guns or anything like that, but I'm sure that may come. But the left is probably going to run into the problem. Again, the murderer happened to be black. He ended up killing himself, obviously shot himself in the head as police officers did finally approach him. He was on video. You guys saw him, red shoes, jean jacket, wearing a mask. Isn't it amazing how COVID has allowed crime to just surge because criminals can wear masks and absolutely hide their faces? But here's what I want you to understand and really understand about this mass murderer at the Michigan State University campus. I got to ask you a question. I got to ask you an important question. I don't know all of the details. None of us know all of the details. None of us know all of the motives in regards to this murderer. But here's what I do want to ask. Is it possible, this is a black murderer, is it possible that this murderer was taught that whites, and I don't know all of the victims, okay, but this was at a part of the sociology department or whatever this kid went on to, or presumably this young man. Is it possible that he was taught to hate white people and that he was oppressed as a black man? So why wouldn't you just kill people? If you have nothing to live for, if you're being taught all the time that America is evil, that you're constantly oppressed, and there's an oppressor that looks like white people, that are white people all around you, why wouldn't you just kill people and then kill yourself? You know, this is something that we have to start looking into. The left is causing major damage in this country. They are a danger. The Democrat Party is a threat to the United States of America. And that's how I view them. That's not hyperbole. I'm not doing it for clicks. This is simply what I believe. I believe that America is under an existential threat from China and also from within, from the Democrat Party. And that's what I want to talk about today. There are plenty of stories that I'm going to get into besides this mass murderer, but also details emerge about the unidentified object that the U.S. military shot down over Lake Huron. I want to talk about that. I'm not sure if you guys heard about this. The Biden administration wants to allow state Medicaid funds to cover groceries now and nutritional care. I understand your first thought may be, well, Medicaid, maybe it's a good idea for us to be telling people how they should eat. I'm going to talk to you about why that is a bad idea. I had tip to Revolver News, balloons, UFOs, fighter jets. Oh my, what's really going on in the skies above? Also, I'm going to talk about the Palestine, Ohio train derailment and the dangers of the chemicals that exploded and went into the air, went into the water. It is very disconcerting, and I want to talk to you about that. And there's a commercial that runs, and I can't even tell you what it is, but at the end of the commercial, it says 50% of Americans will be diagnosed with cancer. Whoa. That's scary. After I tell you about these products that are in or that exploded into the air off of this train derailment in Ohio, and many more have happened over the last year. It's been kind of crazy. Tucker Carlson talked about it last night. You're going to probably understand why so many Americans come down with cancer. Anyway, we're going to be talking about that next on this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. All right, guys, before I go on, I want to make sure that I introduce you to my sponsors, Mike Lindell, MyPillow.com. Have a new pillow out, MyPillow 2.0. All you have to do is go to the MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener square at the top of the page and enter my name, Carl, in that square, and you'll get a discount for not only that product, but many more MyPillow products that are featured as well. Discounts up to 70% off. You can also give them a call, 800-858-0263. Guys, I absolutely love the My Pillow. The 2.0 is even better. They've made it, they put this new material over the top of the pillow that makes it even cooler, makes it even, more breathable and nicer even to sleep on, if you could imagine that. So go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Carl, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. Guys, let me ask you this question. Guys and gals, when I say guys, let me ask you this question. Is America under attack? That's the theme of this podcast. All right. So now listen, I just want you guys, those in my listening audience, I want you to be prepared for worst case scenarios. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but a lot of the things that we thought were conspiracy in the past when it came to the DOJ and the FBI, well, you find out those things are becoming true. And wait till you hear what I have to tell you about this general of the Northern Command here of the Air Force. Hey, maybe we're shooting down some extraterrestrials. Guys, we're living in crazy town, and I just want you to be prepared. Not to mention, the economy is going to get worse. It's going to happen. I'm not saying this to scare you. I want you to be aware. I want you to prepare. It's as simple as that. A food shortage could be coming, even right here in the U.S. You look at Turkey and Syria, you got about 35,000 people estimated dead at this point. You never know what could happen. Drought, inflation, even the new policies, Biden's policies, could make the food supply take it near its breaking point. That's why survival food is so important. I want to introduce you to 4patriots.com, the number 4patriots.com. It's the ultimate survival food. It lasts for 25 years. It's the super survival food, all right? It's hand-packed in a family-owned facility right here in the USA. They provide 200 jobs. The kits are compact. They're sturdy. The kits are water-resistant, and they stack easily for storage. They have different delicious meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're ready in 20 minutes. All you have to do is add boiling water, simmer, and serve. And for my listeners right now, if you go to 4patriots.com, the number 4patriots.com, use the promo code Carl, you'll get 10% off of your first purchase, including a 3-month survival kit. You'll get a year-long guarantee, plus free shipping on orders that are over 97 buckaroonies. And by the way, they're called 4Patriots, the number 4Patriots.com, because a portion of every sale is donated to charities that help out veterans and their families. So not only do you get to protect and bless your family, you get to bless you get to bless veterans and their family members. So go to the number 4Patriots. That's 4Patriots.com. Use the promo code Carl for 10% off of your first purchase. All right, I want to quickly go through Jackson's 5, and I'm actually going to add a bonus to that. So I guess I'm a little cheating. It's going to be like Jackson 6 today, but I'm going to continue to call it Jackson 5 because that's how I roll. So Jackson's 5, because one or two of the stories are actually interconnected. So this appeared on a tip sheet today. The Biden administration approves utilizing Medicaid for groceries, nutritional counseling. Now, I know what you guys are thinking, or some of you guys might be thinking, listen, Carl, maybe it's a good idea if people are going to be using Medicaid, maybe it's a good idea for the government to tell them how to eat. You mean the same government that told us about the jab? You mean the same government that dictated every aspect of our life during the lockdowns? No, I think I'm good. See, I can read, you can read, and I'm not sure that we can trust these people to do the right thing. You guys may remember back in the day, and I remember this, when government used to give you some government cheese. All right. There were a couple of times, periods of times in my life where my parents needed welfare. Now, they would get on, they would get off, but it happened a few times throughout our lives growing up as children in Los Angeles, California. But there were only certain things you can get. You could get, I believe it was milk. You could get eggs. You could get cheese, obviously, government cheese, those big blocks that used to come. You used to be able to get all that, and now you can buy soda with this stuff. It's absolutely amazing. So I'm not sure that this is a good idea. As a matter of fact, I don't think it is a good idea, but I'm going to dive deeper into this story. But let me get to the other headlines. Also in the headlines, in the news, you have this. China attempts to intimidate the Philippines after they broker military deal with the U.S. Why wouldn't they? The Philippine Coast Guard has accused a China Coast Guard ship of pointing a, quote, military-grade laser at some of its crew, temporarily blinding them. See, China feels emboldened with Joe Biden in the White House. They know that he doesn't know what he's doing. They know that the military, seemingly our military, I hate to say this, I take no pleasure in saying this, but when I say our military, I'm talking about our leadership. They're completely incompetent. They're completely incompetent, guys. We just have to be real. We can only hope and pray that China doesn't decide to attack us with Mark Milley and Lloyd Austin at the helm, because things are getting scary. All right, it's just true. So this laser, China points a laser at some of the crew on this Philippine Coast Guard on their vessel, blinding them. And then it says here, aboard a vessel in contested waters of the South China Sea last week, the Chinese slip also made, and I quote, dangerous maneuvers, close quote, in approaching within 150 yards of the Philippine vessel. The Philippine Coast Guard alleged this in a statement. And listen, China just feels emboldened. That's what you have to understand with Joe Biden in the White House. Okay, so now you have this story. Biden looks to sell 26 million additional barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Guys, I'm telling you, America is under attack. And I do believe our adversaries are looking at us, America, and they're looking at this president in the White House. And they're like, listen, America is vulnerable. This is their opportunity. There were a lot of people, even in the conservative movement, that said there was no way that Putin would attack Ukraine. It never made any sense to me. I said as much on radio. I'm like, why wouldn't he attack Ukraine? This is the perfect time for him to do so. Nobody's scared of Joe Biden. He had been wrong on his military observations for over 4 decades, according to Obama's former Secretary of Defense, Bob Gates. So why wouldn't Vladimir Putin attack Ukraine? And certainly he did just that. All right, so now Biden looks to sell 26 million additional barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Have tipped Bloomberg. The Biden administration plans to sell more crude oil from the SPR, fulfilling budget directives mandated years ago that it had sought to stop as oil prices have stabilized. The congressionally mandated sale will amount to 26 million barrels of crude, according to people familiar with the matter. Republicans need to stop in and stop this nonsense. The sale is in accordance with a budget mandate that was enacted in 2015 for the current fiscal year. That was under the Obama administration, said a spokesperson for the Department of Energy. The Energy Department has sought to stop some of the sales required by 2015 legislation so that it can refill the emergency reserve. So now you know the Obama administration at the time was trying to sell us out, as well. Now, here's another one. Ford to build $3.5 billion battery factory in Michigan using Chinese tech to help build EV fleet. Ford. Ford has gone woke. Guys, I know F-150s are great trucks. I'm not into this EV stuff. Listen, if you want to buy an EV, more power to you. But don't come to me, with this nonsense that you're selling the environment. You're absolutely not. This is very discouraging from Ford Motor Company to me, but perhaps they're being forced to go this way. Nonetheless, who wins? China. China wins. Ford Motor Company is investing $3.5 billion to build a battery plant in Michigan with help from China's contemporary Amperex Technology Company Limited. Great job, Ford, working with China. And the Biden administration couldn't be happier. The facility, which will be built in Marshall, Michigan, about 100 miles west of Detroit, is expected to create about 2,500 jobs. And I'm sure it'll kill more than that as far as the slave labor is concerned. And with all of the toxins that the EVs will spew into the atmosphere, not to mention we will have no place to store these batteries as they go bad. The automaker said a wholly owned subsidiary would manufacture the batteries battery cells using technology and expertise provided by CATL. In other words, China, the world's largest maker of batteries for electric vehicles. So China continues to win, even with American corporations. Why? Because America is under attack from our corporations to our airspace, now our waterways. With this train derailment in Ohio, America is under attack. The last couple of two headlines: Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg claims construction sites employ too many white workers. Well, I've got a problem with Pete Buttigieg. I think we're employing one too many gay males as white gay males as the transportation secretary. That's my note to Pete Buttigieg. I'll let you listen to some audio from him little later. Now, the last one: State Department urges Americans to evacuate Russia. I hope that the Biden administration will work on evacuating Paul Whelan. Remember that guy that the Biden administration said they were going to go back and get, and Brittany Griner of the WNBA, that organization we all forget exists until Steph Curry or LeBron James does an ad at the end of the NBA season telling you to watch the WNBA that we always forget about. But remember when they released Brittany Griner and she said she would be on a mission to make sure Paul Whelan, the real American hero, was set free while she continues to play basketball and be woke and all this kind of nonsense? Well, that isn't happening. But right now, the State Department, again, is urging Americans to evacuate Russia. Man, you almost get the sense that Vladimir Putin is not concerned about the Biden's proxy war in Ukraine whatsoever. So the State Department had to Washington Examiner issued a stark warning Monday to all U.S. citizens in Russia, urging them to leave immediately amid heightened concerns about wrongful detentions. For God forbid, they'll have to give away another mass murderer, somebody else that builds weapons, if per one American. That's amazing. For Americans mulling a trip to Russia, the department didn't mince words. Do not travel to Russia. Although it is not clear why officials released the updated travel advisory, military leaders have been sounding alarms that Russia is gearing up for a major escalation in its bloody war against neighboring Ukraine. Guys, we've been found weak. We've been found wanting. And this is the result of that. Okay, now, did we already play the, no, we haven't. All right, so I've got some audio clips for you. I want to play the audio clip of the not so notorious KGP talking about these UFOs, or talking about the military action to shoot down some more spy crafts or spy airships, or whatever you want to call them, spy balloons. I don't like using the word balloons because I don't want it to sound soft. I don't want you to be under the impression that these things are doing minimal damage. I think they are doing a lot of damage because I think they're taking a lot of surveillance. And I think, sadly, this has been going on for quite some time. But here's the not so notorious KGP opining on the issue.
Joining me now, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. Karine, welcome back to the Sunday Show.
Still have a little popcorn.
Yes, you took a little bit of my popcorn from the intro. But let's talk about this thing that was shot out of the sky over Canada. What can you tell us about it? Is this something Americans should be worried about?
So let me just lay out for the American people. So what happened was, out of an abundance of caution, and by the recommendation by the militaries for President Biden and Prime Minister Trudeau, an unauthorized, unmanned object, as you were mentioning, was taken down in the airwaves in the North America airspace. And so what happened was, it had been monitored by NORAD over the past 24 or more hours. And then what the president decided to do, he authorized the F-22, which is a fighter aircraft, to take it down. It came down in the Canadian territory, so we did it in conjunction with Canada. And so the president took this action. We wanted to make sure that the promise is we're always going to track, we're always going to detect, and we're always going to defend our airspace. And that's what the American people should expect.
Curious question, though. Why is the American military shooting something out of the sky over Canada?
Because it's part of NORAD. There is the NORAD is part of like it's a what you call a coalition, a consortium,
a pact of nations.
A pact, exactly. And so that's why we were able to do that. Again, we didn't do it on our own. We did it clearly in step with Canada.
About the Chinese spy balloon, it's reported that multiple antennas have been found in the debris that may have been capable of collecting geolocating communications. What more are we learning about that?
So the Department of Defense clearly is running this process, and they are going to be updating us as time goes by. As you just mentioned, it was the Chinese surveillance balloon was taken down about a week ago, this past Saturday, because the president wanted to make sure that first that we would do it where it was safe and that the American civilians were safe, but also in a way that we would be able to collect information to let us know what was taking analysis so we know what this object was. There was a significant amount of debris that was on the ocean floor that's being dredged up, taken out of the ocean, and now there's an analysis, and we'll learn more about the capabilities, but I certainly don't want to get ahead of the military. I don't want to get ahead of an intelligence community, and they are going to be updating us as time goes by. Okay.
All right. So there it is. There you have it. We can cut it off there. So we did it in conjunction with Canada. Oh my God. Lord help us. Lord help us. No, seriously, please. Lord help us. This I want you guys to understand. This person, the not so notorious KGP, is the person that the Biden administration thought was the best person to fulfill the job of the White House press secretary. I just want you to let that sink in as we ponder on shooting down UFOs, according to one of our military generals, UFOs over Canada. Guys, we are living in crazyville, and as a result, I think that America is under attack, obviously from foreign adversaries, but also from within. I talked about the shooter, I'm sorry, not the shooter. I hate saying shooter because I'm a shooter. If you're a Second Amendment lover, you're a shooter. But the mass murderer that happened to be black at Michigan State University, sadly murdering 3 people, 5 others were wounded. The last numbers that I saw. And again, you're not going to hear much about this guy because he was black. And I hate to say this, but I just want to reiterate this. It's no wonder, and I think you're going to see more shootings like this. I think you're going to see more shootings like this with mass murderers outside of Chicago, outside of the hood, if you will, outside of LA, outside of New York City. I think you're going to see more mass shootings like this done by black people. What do they have to lose? By black criminals, by black crazies. What do they have to lose? If you're being told that you are oppressed, there's no way to achieve in America. America is systemically racist. The white man is this perpetual oppressor. There's no way you can get beyond it. Why not just kill yourself, and why not just kill others as you go out? Now, I don't know the color of the victims. I am curious to find out the color of the victims, or if perhaps he knew the victims. That I don't know. But the shootings occurred in 2 separate parts of Michigan State University, one inside of a gym, one shooting inside of a gym by the same guy, one inside of a dormitory. All right. So it's just going to be interesting to find out stuff as news emerges. But let me go back to this story about these UFOs. Hat tip to the Daily Wire. The U.S. fighter jet that shot down an unidentified object over Lake Huron on Sunday reportedly missed taking down the object with its first shot. And there's no sign of where the missile went. So for those of you that are hearing this for the first time, this was occurring during the Super Bowl. Check your backyard to see if you've got a missile there. All right, please. They're not sure where the missile went. Our U.S. military. So you have a complete, incompetent, feckless press secretary in KGP. You have a weak, feckless, dementia patient in Biden that was selected, that is the selected president of the United States. And now we have a military that's supposed to be the greatest in the world that can't shoot down a spy craft, a spy airship, a spy vessel, if you will. The Air Force F-16 jet that took the object fired two $472,000 Sidewinder AIM 9X missiles at the target before it was shot down. So, guys, we spent nearly $1 million to shoot down a small, unidentified flying object, which I suspect, this is just me speculating, that I suspect are spy crafts that China and or our adversaries have been sending over United States airspace for quite some time. Carl, how can you say this? You're a conspiracy. No. I'm going to share some words with the general with you shortly. Here's what a defense official told Fox News, and I quote, "The first Sidewinder heat-seeking missile missed the target." How the hell does a heat-seeking missile miss the target? Do we have some 50 cal bullets, maybe that are a lot less expensive than a $472,000 Sidewinder missile that we could have taken this down with? Why did we choose to use a Sidewinder missile? Is there something that they're not telling us? Was there something aboard this spy craft that we should be aware of? Inquiring minds really want to know, particularly mine. The object was shot down while flying at an altitude at approximately 20,000 feet inside U.S. airspace near Michigan. Amazing. U.S. officials said that they believe that this is the object that was detected late Saturday night over Montana. All right, forgive me. I said over the Super Bowl. That was the next day. The U.S. fighter jets could not locate it at the time. The biggest, baddest military couldn't locate this unidentified flying object that was flying well within reach, 20,000 feet. Guys, what's going on with our military? Let alone these flying objects. What the hell is going on with our military? Have we become a DEI military, and are we just hiring and training a bunch of incompetents at this point? Are we not training enough? You know, they've cut down on flight hours for a lot of our pilots. Inquiring minds want to know, especially this one. Based on its flight path, and I'm quoting here from the Pentagon, based on its flight path and data, we can reasonably connect this object to the radar signal picked up over Montana, which flew in proximity to sensitive DoD sites. We did not assess it to be a kinetic military threat to anything on the ground, but assess it was a safety flight hazard and a threat due to its potential surveillance capability. So they did not assess it to be a military threat, a kinetic military threat that could do damage. How did they come to that conclusion? If they didn't know what it was, you see what's happening here? If they didn't know what it was, how did they come to this conclusion? The object that was shot down over Lake Huron came a day after the Air Force shot down an object over Canada. So we got an object over Lake Huron. We've got an object over Canada. And 2 days after, the Air Force shot down an object over Alaska. That's three. Oh, yeah. And let's not forget the OG one on February 4th, where the Air Force shot down a Chinese spy aircraft that traveled across the entire United States of America, flying low, collecting data with God knows what they collected, going over sensitive military sites. Here's what U.S. Air Force General Glenn Van Hert, to bring you some comfort, here's what he had to say. He's the commander who oversees the North American airspace. He said that the U.S. officials seemed confident that the objects were not balloons. Well, thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that. We really feel better. They're not balloons. They're not balloons. So they're not the spy balloons. Thank you, General. Here's what he did go on to say, and I quote, "I'm not going to categorize them as balloons, thank you. We're calling them objects for a reason," close quote. Then he goes on to say, "I'm not able to categorize how they stay aloft." You're not? You oversee the North American airspace. You can't tell us how these spying aircraft, I believe, I'm speculating, how they stay afloat. You can't tell us that. It could be a gaseous type of balloon inside a structure, or it could be some type of propulsion system. But clearly, they're able to stay aloft, he says. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, General Glenn Van Herk. You're providing tons of comfort. He goes on to say, we assessed taking a gunshot yesterday in an event, as well as today, and the pilots in each situation felt that that was really unachievable because of the size, especially yesterday in the altitude, and also because of the challenge to acquire it visually because it's so small. Now, again, 20,000 feet. Heat-seeking missiles, 472,000 buckaroonies each. He goes on to say, we have taken extreme caution to ensure that we limit potential collateral damage. So today, we work closely with the FAA to clear out the airspace. He said, I gave directions specifically to the pilots to use their visual acuity to check for mariners on the ground, airplanes in the air, to clear with their radars as well. And when they were comfortable that we can minimize collateral damage, they selected the best weapon today. That was the AIM-9X missile. And they took the shot. 472 grand. They took the shot. Missed the first time, but they took the shot. Unfreaking believable. Now, as if it gets any better, sorry, it doesn't. Hat tip revolver news. Balloons, UFOs, fighter jets. Oh my, what's really going on in the skies above? This is before we get to the train derailment. Oh, I got to make sure. This is very, 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 very important stuff. I had the crew get some great audio today. I want to make sure that I use it. So Gabe, forgive me for slacking on that. This is as I go through my, let's see here. Oh, yeah. Let's go to this one, Gabe, where the reporter asked John Kirby, the Fox News reporter asked John Kirby a point blank question. Why is the U.S. now shooting down UFOs? So let's go to that audio clip if we could, por favor, Gabe.
John, does the U.S. government have video or imagery of these latest intercepts, and will you guys be releasing it?
You'd have to talk to DOD about that, Jackie. I don't know what kind of imagery might exist, and they'd be one to talk about whether they're releasable or not. Obviously, certainly with respect to the spy balloon, we want to make sure that we are gleaning what we can from this imagery so that we can answer your questions better. And so to what degree there is or will or will not be public release, I do want to stress that, we're going to want to make sure that we have had a chance to analyze that imagery for ourselves as much as possible.
Following up on Phil's question, I guess what we're trying to discern is, you said earlier, we're looking for these more, so we're finding more. And
I said that could be one reason why we're finding more.
One reason, but what we're getting at is, why are we all of a sudden shooting them down? And to add to that, the NORAD commander, for instance, said that when the first spy balloon was crossing over American and then Canadian airspace, one of the reasons that he couldn't take action was because his assessment was that it didn't pose a military threat or have hostile intent, and so he couldn't take action there. It seems like maybe that protocol has changed, or his ability to make that call where there is not an imminent threat militarily or physically might have changed. So can you explain to us what changed? Why are we shooting them down all of a sudden?
I kind of feel like I took care of that in my opening statement, but I'm happy to revisit it. I mean, really two reasons here. And these are certainly in both cases, they're different. I mean, I think we need to separate the Chinese spy balloon. We knew what it was. We knew where it was going. We knew what it was trying to do. And by not taking it down, I mean, that was also a huge payload. Like I said, the size of 3 school buses. So really the option of shooting that down over land wasn't a legitimate option, because somebody really could have gotten hurt. And we used the time available to us, knowing what this thing was all about. We used that time to study it, to learn from it, to collect on it. Then taking it down at the earliest opportunity in the water. And we have retrieved some of that debris off the bottom, and we're studying that. Hang on a second, I'll be right there. So let's separate that from these other 3. And these other 3, what are some of the differences? Altitude's a big difference.
Is that the threshold now? A risk to civilian aircraft?
Let me get through this. And then altitude's different. The Chinese spy balloon was at 60,000 plus, well outside commercial air traffic concerns. These three were right on the border of it. So there was a legitimate concern there. Chinese spy balloon, we knew exactly what that thing was. And we knew what it was trying to do. And we saw it, Jackie, as it slowed down, sped up, maneuvered a little bit, trying to get a look at what we believe to be sensitive military sites. These other three.
All right, I can't take the BS. You can only take the BS for so long, guys. I'm sorry I made you suffer through that. But that guy, I can't believe he's a military leader, or he was. I guess still is. That's the way that they would look at it. But this is our military. All right, so the Chinese spy balloon, which they eventually shot down, they could have shot down. They could have shot down beforehand. They could have shot it down in the Pacific Ocean. They could have shot it down in conjunction with Canada. They could have shot it down over Montana before it got to our military, got the opportunity to completely spy on our military installation and ICBMs, 150 of them that are located in Montana, but they absolutely chose not to do so. But here's what's really disconcerting to me. Okay, so we shoot down. We're able to identify what this thing is 60,000 feet in the air. We can't identify what the thing is that's 20,000 feet in the air. Or we can't say we don't know. Hey, maybe it's ET. Oh, maybe it's ET. Actually, they did come up with that. Yeah, that's right. Hat tip, going back to this Revolver news story, a bonfire things heated up even more after General Glenn Van Herk, commander of the U.S. Northern Command, which we spoke about earlier, and the Northern American Aerospace Defense Command announced that he wasn't ruling out aliens. So ET could be out there. America could be under attack by ET, by extraterrestrials. Guys, listen. I don't know if there's any other life out there. Neither do you. I mean, obviously it's a big planet. I don't know what God was up to, but here's what I do know. So far, no extraterrestrials are affecting me in any type of way, or you that I know of, and I frankly don't believe them. I believe this is a major distraction. I believe this is a major faux pas. I think that they don't want to admit that our military is no longer capable of satisfactorily defending its citizens. That's what I think is at stake. This is the damage that this freaking jerk in the White House has done in 2 short years. Our military is incompetent. Our journalists are incompetent. Our military leaders are incompetent. Mini cricket, but also incompetent. This is very discouraging. This guy doesn't rule out ETs, extraterrestrials. There are a lot of theories out there, according to Revolver News, ranging from foreign enemies surveilling us with the state-of-the-art technology, aliens coming to the Earth, even though suggesting our government is behind all of this. I think there's a fourth option. Our military, sadly, is completely incompetent. I'm sorry. Seriously? Extraterrestrials? I'm not concerned about extraterrestrials. If you're concerned, listen. Here's what's happening. This is what's happening. Our military is trying to cover up our fecklessness, our weakness. We're vulnerable. China knows it. Putin knew it before he invaded Ukraine. And now you're starting to know it. So whatever they can do to distract from the real issue that we have a feckless commander-in-chief, we have feckless leaders in the military, and America is now under threat. Oh, God. Guys, now that we know that we're under a severe threat, I would recommend getting a couple things. You're going to want to make sure, because things might get crazy, get as many good nights of rest as you can. MyPillow.com. Go to MyPillow.com. Use that promo code Carl for the latest MyPillow 2.0. All right, MyPillow.com, or give them a call at 800-858-0263. And you may want to stock up just in case on some food. ForPatriots.com. It lasts for 25 years. First-time purchasers, you use my name, you'll get 10% off of your first purchase. And if you order anything that's over $97, you're going to get free shipping, and you get a guarantee on that product, on that food. So make sure you go to the number 4patriots.com, stack up to make sure your family is safe, because there's no telling what's going to happen with these foods in the White House. The article goes on to say what's really happening. Well, to answer that question, we need to look at the facts. According to Revolver, firstly, we know there was a Chinese balloon that was the first spotted in Montana. And after Biden hemmed and hawed for several days, it was finally shot down over the coast of South Carolina. Secondly, we also know that NORAD changed. Listen to this. This is why I know they're BSing. This is the evidence. This is all you need to know. Secondly, we also know that NORAD, NORAD changed radar sensitivity to include balloon-like objects. And now, thanks to that move, they're finding, quote, spy balloons, close quote, quote unquote, and UFOs to shoot down all over the place. So to answer her question, why are we all of a sudden shooting down all these UFOs when we allowed the first spy aircraft to completely traverse the entire United States landscape? Why are we all of a sudden shooting them down? Is it possible that we've been spied on for so freaking long, and it's so common under the Biden administration, and Biden is so compromised that our military simply won't do jack? Is it possible? And they want you to believe that ET is real, just like man-made global warming is real. It's a bunch of BS. I don't know. Let me walk that back a little bit. I don't know. Maybe ETs do exist. I don't think this is it. And this is why. We also know that NORAD changed radar sensitivity to include balloon-like objects. And now, thanks to that move, they're finding spy balloons. I'm just reiterating the same things, and UFOs to shoot down all over the place. So you're telling me that NORAD changed their radar sensitivity, and now they can shoot down these balloon-like objects? Why now? Why didn't they do that before? Did we always have the capability of just adjusting our radar to capture these UFOs, quote unquote? After the U.S. government announced last week that a fleet of Chinese spy balloons had visited the U.S. undetected in recent years, the military had to admit the obvious. It had an awareness gap, quote unquote. Our military had an awareness gap. Guys, this stuff has been happening. That's the problem. All the time under Biden, and the feckless administration has done nothing about it. In my opinion, that's the truth. That's the truth. America is under attack with this administration in the White House. We're attacked from the south. The Mexican cartels in China are running our southern border. We're attacked from the skies. I've heard someone say that perhaps these additional spy craft, likely is what they are probably probably Russia and China working together, simply showing us how vulnerable we are, especially with this administration especially with this administration in the White House. Last couple of things. Biden administration allowing state Medicaid funds to cover groceries, nutritional care. The Biden administration has started allowing the state Medicaid funds to be used to pay for groceries and dietary advice in an effort to promote better overall health and wellness among the population and to decrease the need for expensive medical interventions. Well, Carl, that sounds like a good thing. For God's sakes, if we're going to be giving people Medicaid, shouldn't we teach them how to eat better? Oh, you mean like the SNAP program that we already have? Do you understand? All this does is grow government largesse. Do you know that the Biden administration is using Medicaid, or wants to use Medicaid, to allow abortions to occur, for people to be able to take trips to states that allow abortions? They want to be able to use it for that. Here it is. The Biden administration has made several efforts to expand Medicaid, including adding millions of new recipients to the program's rolls. You know, basically a lot of people that don't need to be on Medicaid in the first place. Why do you think a lot of lazy bums are sitting in their mother's basement at 27, 28, 29 years old and not doing jack squat? Because you're paying for them. In some states, Medicaid is covering air conditioners to combat extreme heat. Isn't that amazing? how the Democrat Party always uses government largesse to make you a slave. That's all this is about. You can read for yourself. You can find out what's healthy for yourself. You can talk to your own doctor. You don't need the government to create another unnecessary program to tell you what the hell to eat. For God's sakes, man. In some states, Medicaid is covering air conditioners to combat extreme heat, up to 6 months of rent for Medicaid, and filtration devices that improve the air quality. The Journal reported in August, President Joe Biden signed an executive order that allows Medicaid funds to be used to facilitate travel for women seeking abortions to states where the procedure is still legal, likely violating the Hyde Amendment, which prohibits the federal financing of abortion. Okay. All right. That's what they're doing. We are under attack. They want weak men. They want dependent men and dependent women as well, but they want dependent men. They want a dependent middle class. This nation is under attack by our adversaries outside of our borders and by the Democratic Party within our border. Freaking, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just freaking. I'm just freaking hot. Last thing. I'll wrap this up. What's the solution? Carl, give us never vote for a Democrat. Ever. Under any circumstance. Ever. They are not nice people. Their policies are not good. The Democratic Party is evil. There's a solution for freaking. God forgive me. Help me. Whoo. Sorry. Just thinking about this stuff. Just thinking about that stuff. It just makes me nuts. I won't get. Oh, let's play this last one. Let me just comment on one. We'll skip it, Gabe. Pete Buttigieg whines that too many white people work construction. Actually, let's just run them back to back. And I'll close with both of these so that we finish this up. So let's run the Pete Buttigieg one, Gabe, the video, and then let's run the controlled release of chemicals at the Ohio train derailment. And I'm going to talk to you about quickly why this is really disconcerting. But first, Pete Buttigieg whines that too many white people work construction. I think one too many white gay males works as a transportation secretary.
To work with your contractors, to work with your community colleges on building a workforce that reflects the community. We have heard way too many stories from generations past of infrastructure where you got a neighborhood, often a neighborhood of color, that finally sees the project come to them, but everyone in the hard hats on that project looking like, doing the good paying jobs, don't look like they came from anywhere near the neighborhood.
Right.
You can build community wealth that will help close wealth gaps in this country if we can tear down those barriers. But that happens at the delivery level.
Okay. All right. Actually, let's get the other video wound up, Gabe. Let me just comment on Pete Buttigieg and what he said, basically. So you have too many white men that, black people, I guess, don't get the jobs. You got white men working over the cities to help build whatever it may be, infrastructure. Listen, is it possible that some of these black men didn't train for those jobs? Is it possible that some black people, just like some white people, just like some Latinos, some Asians, are not trained for those jobs? Is that possible? Maybe, Pete Buttigieg. I'm telling you, we have a problem. We have a crisis in the transportation secretary office. We have one too many gay males, one too many white gay males that shouldn't be there. And that white gay male is Pete Buttigieg. This guy, this guy that all he does is perpetuate this victim mentality. That's all he does. He's a good for nothing little punk. He was a crappy mayor and he's a crappy transportation secretary. You know what? If you want to see more black people, how about this, Pete Booty? How about you guys stop telling black people that we're dumb, that we're ignorant, that we're oppressed, that we need help from white Democrats like you. How about you stop telling us that and start telling or start advocating for these young men and women that happen to be black going to schools in some urban areas? Why don't you start advocating for school choice so that they can get a better education? Or if they're going to stay where they are, why don't you stop talking about CRT? Why don't you stop talking about DEI? Why don't you start talking about reading, writing, and arithmetic and some freaking trades? Imagine if some of these kids could get out of the hood by using wood shop, by using metal shop, by learning to lay concrete, by learning to fill out an application, by learning how to manage a bank account. Imagine if they had those everyday skills. They wouldn't have to vote Democrat. That's why you freaking jerk. I can't stand what a little punk he is. Anyway, all right, moving on. Last thing, Gabe. Let's this mushroom of a catastrophe, this little nuclear bomb that blew up in Palestine, Ohio from this train derailment. I want to make sure that I talk about this, and we'll close with this. Guys, please subscribe to this podcast and share this podcast. We need to grow. We want to grow. We want to spread the truth. This is your daily dose of objective truth in the world of confusion and lies. And you will help us to grow by making sure you follow us on all social media. The Carl Jackson Show. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I want to see you there. Please, it really helps out the show. Also, YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Carl Jackson Show on YouTube. And don't forget our sponsors, MyPillow.com, ForPatriots.com. Guys, these are American businesses supporting podcasts like mine so that we can all fight together for freedom. So help them out and make sure you follow me, please. Let's play this last video, Gabe, of this mushroom blowing up. You guys are going to need to watch this on YouTube. So again, The Carl Jackson Show on YouTube. Let's go ahead and play this last video here, Gabe.
Developing right now, residents in East Palestine, Ohio are under expanded evacuation orders after a 50-car train derailment. Emergency crews are working to vent toxic chemicals from 5 cars near the Pennsylvania state line in order to reduce the threat of an explosion. The train derailed Friday night the wreckage has been smoldering, as you see there, ever since. Norfolk Southern Railway says no crew members, residents, or first responders have been hurt.
All right, so too bad Pete Booty isn't talking about this. He's nowhere to be found, just like he was nowhere to be found when it came to the shipping crisis that we had in the United States. But he's nowhere to be found on this train derailment. And by the way, we've had tons of train derailments, sadly, over the last year or two under the Biden administration. It's weird. It's almost as if Tucker Carlson explained this, as if it's like sabotage. One has to wonder. Guys, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. You know me, but crap is happening that none of us ever imagined, including the DOJ being turned against American citizens. I mean, it's absolutely insane to me. But all right, so this is from the Reader. I'm sorry. Let me get this right. The readerapp.com. This is a chemist. All right. You could find the story. It was linked on revolver.news. That is revolver.news. It's an excellent aggregate site. He says this chemist, based on my preliminary research, the derailed train of vinyl chloride is going to be something of a short-term calamity. That's good news in a sense, with hopefully few long-term effects. Apart from the cause of the derailment, most everything else makes sense. Vinyl chloride is highly flammable, a highly flammable carcinogenic, and a monomer used to make plastic. All right. So years ago, I had this guy come. I was drinking out of a water bottle, just going into a store. A black dude came to me, or literally rolled down his window. He didn't come to me. He was driving by in a truck, and he was like, "Hey, bro, drink out of metal. Plastics cause cancer." Remember what I said at the beginning of the podcast? This ad that's been running, 50% of Americans will be diagnosed with cancer. Now this vinyl chloride truck just blows up in Palestine, Ohio. Isn't it amazing how fentanyl it's coming through the southern border, and so much of it's finding its way to the Midwest? You know, the people that really love and embrace America. Isn't that amazing how that happens? Just amazing. Just amazing. Just a coinky dink, you know? So this vinyl chloride is going to be something of a short-term calamity with hopefully few long-term effects. Apart from the cause of the derailment, most everything else makes sense. Again, vinyl chloride is a highly flammable, carcinogenic, and monomer used to make plastic. It's really nasty stuff, bad for you down to at least 1 ppm. I don't know what that means, but you can only smell it starting at 10 ppm. Don't know what that means. He's a chemist. It causes cancer, liver issues, and it's mutagenic in acute and chronic exposure. The hazmat information I found indicates that evacuation of 1 mile is standard. The fire is not to be extinguished unless the leaks can be stopped, he says, due to the risk of BLEVE, B-L-E-V-E. That's an acronym. I'll tell you what it means because he addresses it later. Approaching the accident was very hazardous for several reasons, even geared up. All right. Apparently, a decision, he says, was made to vent the tanks explosively. This is preferable to an uncontrollable BLEVE again, B-L-E-V-E, the acronym. Actually, let me just go up and find what he says because he's like, oh, yeah, I got to correct myself. Here it is. Okay. He said, I should have defined it before I used it. The term BLEVE, it's an acronym, is an acronym for boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. Again, BLEVE stands for boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion, and they're mega bad news, he says. In this case, it would have been equivalent to a boiler explosion if the boiler was full of toxic flammables. This stuff has gotten into their water supply. This stuff has killed wildlife in the vicinity. Apparently, a decision was made to vent the tanks explosively. Again, he says this is preferable and uncontrollable. BLEVE the combustion products are bad, HCl and trace amounts of phosphine, but both of these will be eliminated in the environment quickly. So that is good news. Vinyl chloride is quite reactive and will begin to polymerize in open atmosphere. This is actually good because polymerized vinyl chloride is relatively harmless stuff. He says, think PVC. The environmental damage should be short-lived with a fast recovery. The problem is, in the short term, it's probably going to do some damage. Guys, America is under attack. Maybe from within and from without. America is under attack. Make sure you stock up on food. I'm not saying that to try to sell you a product. I want you to be safe. I don't know what's going to happen with this administration. ForPatriots.com. Meanwhile, get as many good nights rest as you can. MyPillows.com. Both sites, use the promo code Carl. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Don't ever vote Democrat again. I don't care what they say. Don't ever vote for that evil party again. Evil and incompetent. Not just evil, but freaking incompetent. Making matters worse. They wanted to fundamentally transform America, but they're so incompetent. And Putin sees weakness and smells it. Xi Jinping, the same thing. Mexican cartels, same thing. Guys, we're in a lot of trouble. Don't ever, ever vote for the Democrat Party again. Until next time, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Please follow me on social media, The Carl Jackson Show, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social. Please subscribe to my podcast, actually, YouTube.com. Please subscribe at YouTube.com. That's where we need to see more of you. And wherever else you get your podcast, TheCarlJacksonShow.com. Until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.